All right, start back over from the top.
All right, we're good.
Start over.
Yeah, I think start that right over.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Andy Perlman. I'm an attorney with Pruner and Perlman here in Nashua, and I'm here to address Resolution 24-120. And at your discretion, I could speak now, I could sit down and walk you through the plans that I've provided, whatever your wish.
You can talk longer that way.
I was going to say, yeah,
You can
why
only talk
don't
3
we,
minutes now.
why don't we wait for the new business resolution to come up, and you can come up and take as much time as you need.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Communications.
We have communications from Sam Durfee, Planning Manager, regarding referral from the Board of Aldermen on Resolution R-24-120, authorizing the conveyance of portions of Dozier Road and MAP 114, Lot 233.
There being no objection, I'll accept the communication and place it on file. Unfinished business.
There is none.
New business resolutions.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage for R-24-120, authorizing the conveyance of portions of Dozier Road and MAP 114, Lot 233.
Awesome. You guys can come on up if you'd like. Director Sullivan, you're welcome to join. Probably easier, you'll be called upon eventually.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, again, thank you. I will ask, is this on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, Andy Perlman, attorney with Pruner and Perlman here in Nashua. And I'm here on behalf of the John Flatley Company. My partner in crime, Kevin Walker from the John Flatley Company, is typically here, but he had a wake tonight, and so it's just me. The John Flatley Company has 2 projects currently pending that were approved a little bit ago, and one piece of the puzzle that we need to button up is the Dozier Road discontinuance and acquisition by the John Flatley Company. The 2 projects are a 49-lot subdivision known as the Gateway Hills, and that was approved by the National Planning Board in August 2022. And the Gateway Hills subdivision are the first 3 slides that I have on the screen. And the second project is the Flex Building, known as Flex Building 2. And those are the third, the fourth, fifth, and sixth slides that I have for you tonight. That was approved by the National Planning Board in November 2022. After the approvals of both of those projects, we began the discontinuance process through the Board of Aldermen process, and that was approved by the Board of Aldermen to discontinue these portions of Dozier Road in February 2023. Since that time, we have had a long discussion with staff, back and forth negotiations, because it was determined that this portion of Dozier Road is owned by the city outright, and so instead of just a vanilla discontinuance, we would have to purchase the Dozier Road, and so the city would be conveying the Dozier Road title to John Flatley Company to make these projects work. And so over the past few months, there have been offers and negotiations, and we came to an agreement with the city to purchase Dozier Road and that small little triangle parcel that's about 2,600 square feet. That's MAP 114, Lot 233, for a purchase price of $67,000. It was agreeable to John Flatley Company and to the city staff, and we have that agreement that is processing through this system now. And just, maybe I could stop for a second and kind of walk you through what we're talking about. The first slide taken from the GIS, I highlighted that portion of Dozier Road that is seeking to be discontinued and purchased. And if you can scroll to the next, and that's really, the first one's just to give you a bearings. Here are the lots as they exist today. And you can see Dozier Road is on the right-hand side of the lot. The Dozier Road parallels the FA Everett Turnpike. And it's my understanding Dozier Road was created a long time ago as just an accessory road as the turnpike was coming to fruition in the 1960s or 70s or so. And if you go to the next slide, you can see I've highlighted where Dozier Road is in relation to the subdivision that was approved. And so Dozer Road goes through a couple of the lots, goes through some conservation lots, goes through a portion of the cul-de-sac at the top of the plan. And so with the purchase of Dozer Road, the discontinuance, this project can move forward. This is one of the last pieces of the puzzle we need to button up. It takes care of title issues, and this project, the Flatley Company is raring to go, and they're looking to pull building permits as quickly as possible, so this is one last piece that we have to do. A little bit south of this particular site, in the same area, if you can go to the next screen, which is, again, the GIS. This is the flex space building number 2 that Flatley intends to build. This is just above all the apartment buildings, just above that little, I can't call it ski area, but the ski slope. So if you go to the next one, you can see this is all of these plans, just as take a step back, all the plans as they were presented and worked their way through the planning board. It was always presumed that these portions of Dozer Road would be discontinued and become part of these projects. So that portion that I haven't highlighted, that's one of the pieces of Dozer Road that is to be acquired by the Flatley Company. And then on the next slide, the final slide, you can see the flex building space takes up both of these lots plus the Dozer Road. This section of Dozer Road is going to be for stormwater management. There's going to be a big swale and stormwater management area in this portion of Dozer Road. So that's what we're looking to do. And I'm happy to answer any questions. We are looking for a positive recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. Last week we received a positive recommendation from the Planning Board, and we're working our way through the process, and hopefully I can answer any questions. We'll have a positive recommendation tonight. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Perlman. Open it up to committee.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is my ward, so it's this whole section is a big deal to the people that live over in that Spindlewick area. The biggest question is, this is all fine, but will Flatley be trying to connect this to the Spindlewick neighborhood? So the biggest fear is that at some point, Spindlewick neighborhoods and the digital drive, all that stuff will be connected in a way where now people are driving through those, continuously. And I think that's the biggest fear of the people that live in those neighborhoods. They don't want all of a sudden traffic cutting through their neighborhoods. So Kevin in the past has said, no. But is that still the plan, not to connect the neighborhood into this section?
Well,
Outside of like a fire, firemen, the fire department has to have a way in and out of there, and they put some kind of fire pass that only they could go, the emergency vehicles could go through.
if you go to the second slide that I had for you, there is a connection to Shadowbrook Drive continues and it connects to Spindlewick.
Yep.
But it does not connect to the remainder of the Flatley development, all the apartment buildings, the flex space building, the Sheridan Tower area. You can see on this slide, it just dead ends in a cul-de-sac very close to that little triangle piece.
Yeah, that's what I get, because I know that neighborhood's being built. But the one thing is that it doesn't end up at some point saying, hey, we're going to connect the two. And maybe this question is to Matt. If that ever happens, does that have to come through us or the planning or zoning? Or can they just say, we're going to connect the two?
May I speak to that?
Yeah, sure, please.
I'm going to answer your question, Alderman Tebow, but I'm also going to perhaps play a bit of defense for the Flatley Company as well, in the sense that, and you just referenced it, any answer today is subject to change. There are no development plans in front of the planning board nor in front of the city that propose connecting the northern Flatley and the southern Flatley development at this point in time. This group knows well, I think all of you know, that we've worked with Flatley over the years to talk about master planning all of the Flatley holdings. And so they certainly have other development concepts in mind, not fully baked, of course, but the things that they're thinking about doing.
I gave up on trying to get that.
Well, it's an ongoing conversation, though.
I know.
And I think that relationship is improving. I'm happy to say that. It is possible that a future connection could be built. It is possible that the city could require such a future connection in certain development scenarios. But to your point, whether through the planning board process, likely only a planning board process, those developments could in fact connect into the neighborhood that you're talking about. That's not what's before you this evening without question, but I'd hesitate to say that will never happen.
Would that have to come back to?
It may not need to come back to the Board of Aldermen.
Okay.
It may not need to come back to the Board of Aldermen. I want to be really clear about that. It's possible that it could. There could be other, likely not discontinuances, but other actions necessary for such an approval, but it would certainly go before the planning board. Your constituents, I know that you've talked to a lot about this issue. They would have an opportunity to talk about that as part of the planning board process. And as you know, the planning board is acutely aware of that concern from the neighborhood. They've heard that on both the northern subdivision approval and that flex building. So there'll be due process and opportunity for those constituents to weigh in, but it is a possibility in the future.
Okay.
It is. And frankly, I would argue it might be good planning to actually connect all of those things, but I understand that neighborhoods have been formed.
What's your phone number?
You've got it. But it's something that we would have to look at that point in time. I don't want to kick the can on the response, but I hope you can appreciate the answer.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm looking at the deed without covenants. I'm not, it seems pretty obvious what it is, but I'm not familiar with that. Is that the equivalent of a quitclaim deed, or is this something new? I've never seen this before.
Frankly, it is new to me. Attorney Celia Leonard suggested that the city would not convey with any covenants, and actually a quitclaim deed does indeed have underlying covenants, although they're not very strong. So the title to Dozer Road came from the state of New Hampshire, came from DOT over a series of conveyances to the city. So Attorney Leonard simply said, we will give you whatever we have. We make no warranties, quitclaim, or otherwise as to the property. So it's whatever we have, you have, and don't come back to us.
Okay, thank you. And, perhaps through you to Director Sullivan, so the purchase price, I don't want to interfere with, something that's been negotiated, but are you telling us that's a fair price for this?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Alderman Jettie, I'm glad you asked that question. Before, Andy alluded to this, or Attorney Perlman rather, alluded to this, there's been more than a year of discussion about this discontinuance and acquisition by the Flatley Company. The first part of that year plus was actually the city spending its time ensuring that there were no public or city uses that would be appropriate for those areas that are in question, including the very small triangle and the two other areas that are contemplated in the deed. Once we finished that analysis, we engaged with Chris Norwood as sort of our broker and appraiser for the property, and he performed a valuation study, Alderman Jettie, and determined that the valuation was anywhere between $60,000 and $75,000 of the three properties based on their contributory value and their value in the context of the surrounding uses. And so ultimately, we agreed to a purchase price that was right in the middle of that range. So we did have a real estate professional perform an analysis of valuation before agreeing to this price.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And if I could, since we're in this area, what is this, does this have any effect on Prospect Park? Is that,
Proctor.
Proctor Park.
what is it, Proctor?
Proctor Park.
Proctor Park?
No, there's no access proposed to. Proctor Park is one of the strangest parks I've seen in some time.
A lot of usage.
Incredibly high usage, yes. No true vehicular or pedestrian access that I'm aware of. There may be some informal walking paths. I don't know if you're aware, Alderman too. Oh, yeah. There's no connection proposed, Alderman Jettie, as part of the Flatley Company's development of the northern portion that I'm aware of. Attorney Perlman, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Do you know what Proctor Park is?
Yeah, I didn't until I started getting into this
Okay.
project, and you are absolutely correct. Well, let me say it this way. There are no connections to Proctor Park from this project before you. If there are other connections I don't know about, maybe, but not from this Flatley project.
And Alderman Jettie, I do believe there are some walking paths in Proctor Park. I think it is conceivable that the residents of this neighborhood may find those in their own exploration of the site. but there was no formal recreational connection required as part of the planning board process to increase the usage of that park in any way, shape, or form. Proctor Park is also interesting in that I believe there's also a conservation easement on that property, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the terms of that conservation easement, but intense recreational uses, to my knowledge, were never contemplated on that particular property. So we've been hesitant to create a formal recreational connection to it.
Okay, and may I ask another
Absolutely.
question?
Alderman Jettie.
So I hate to waste your time on
That's
this,
all right.
but
That's why I'm here.
you know, when you say there's no intense, I think that was the word you used. But, you know, is it, and maybe you don't even know, is it accessible? Is it something that, if it's a conservation area, can the public access it and walk around in it and look at birds and animals and things?
Do we know if it's possible for me to use the mouse on that computer? Just to show quickly what I'm aware of.
The first GIS slide that I had.
I have the GIS up as well. I was
Okay.
going to quickly show.
Sure. Okay.
We anticipated this question, Alderman Jettie. So this is Proctor Park. To my knowledge, this is the entirety of Proctor Park, this triangular portion right here. This property right here is also owned by the city of Nashua. To my knowledge, this flag connection is the only access off of a public road to Proctor Park as it stands today. I do not know whether pedestrians use this. I'm not sure if it's bounded or by what. I have not been to this area. We have no trail data, Alderman Jettie, indicating that there are active walking trails in Proctor Park.
I don't think so.
It's essentially a natural piece of property, relatively untouched, that does technically have an access, but we're not aware that that access is being actively used. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer.
In any event, this will have no effect on that.
No.
No.
Thank
All
you.
set, Alderman Jettie?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just so you know, before they started to build on this land off of Spindlewick, I walked through there with the Conservation Committee. The plot was a mess. I mean, it was trees down. It was like, it was hard to walk through it just to survey this land that they bought or they had and they were building on. Never mind getting over to Proctor Park. Like, it was, I came out of there and I pulled 7 ticks off of me. I hadn't had a tick on me in about 30 years. So it was definitely, it was, the land they're building on right now was rough to begin with. I imagine Proctor Park's pretty similar. I don't think it's easy to get to, and maybe hunters go in there or kids messing around. I don't know, but it's not one that people talk about in my neighborhood saying like, hey, I went up and hung out in Proctor Park. They're just not going up there. Maybe in the future, someday, we can do something with it, but.
Yeah, I mean, this is the park.
Pretty
This
heavy.
is that flag connection right here. We're looking at an angular view. There's really, the boundaries of the parcels have been respected by the abutters. There doesn't seem to be any activity in there whatsoever. But I'm not aware of any impacts as a result of the resolution that's before you. Other than that, there will be residential dwelling units in the area, but those were approved by the planning board. The discontinuance or the conveyance itself, there's no impact to my knowledge, Alderman Jettie.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All set?
I'm all set, thank you.
So I do have a question myself. Looking at Dozer Road, does Dozer Road end right at Proctor Park? Or does it continue on? Because I'm looking at one of these maps right now, looks like it keeps going.
I believe Dozer Road is platted does continue. We may need to confirm that.
Yeah, need to confirm that. I don't know, honestly. The description that we have, the meets and bounds description, the distances are as shown in my little highlights. It stops right at Park to Park. Whether it continues into Park to Park, I honestly don't know.
Okay, thank you. And just to kind of connect the dots here, so this discontinues, this Dozer Road will discontinue, and that's right at the bottom of where Proctor Park is, or the side of it, or is it even further down from there?
There are really three.
Okay.
Yeah, so the northern discontinuance area, I guess we can call it for the purposes of this discussion, is this long linear strip right here that looks like a road right-of-way. That will discontinue, as Attorney Perlman said, right at the southern border of Proctor Park. It will discontinue down to, Attorney Perlman, I don't have my diagram in front of me, I believe it's right adjacent to the triangular portion.
Exactly, it goes to the bottom of A58.
Yeah, so it'll be right here.
Okay.
This triangular portion, rather, I'm sorry, my
Keep going.
mistake.
I was gonna say, I thought we were
Yep,
down
no,
there,
that's my
right?
mistake. Couple triangles here, couple pizza slices. This piece will be discontinued, or conveyed, I should say, and it'll be discontinued to right here.
Gotcha, okay.
Am I correct on that?
Correct, 100%.
In Attorney Perlman, you said that, so this Dozer Road isn't going to be a road, correct? It was gonna be used for other means?
Absolutely. There's a separate road. If you go to the plan for the Flex building, you can see that the portion of Dozer Road that's to be discontinued, if you go to the next slide. Yep. The portion of Dozer Road to be continued is for a proposed stormwater management area. And then to the left of that, you can see that there's a roadway that will continue, Innovative Way will continue kind of right in front of the Flex building.
Okay.
All right, so Dozer, to answer your question, Dozer Road is not going to be used as a road anymore. It's just part of the, for the subdivision, it's part of the conservation lots. For here, it's part of the stormwater management area for the Flex building.
Okay, perfect. That makes more sense now. I thought that
dirt
was,
road, too.
thought that was going to be the physical road in there, and I was like, okay,
Dirt road.
that makes more sense. I think that answers my questions on the legislation before us, so.
You want to ask about, you want to talk about the T?
No. I'm happy to just quickly talk about this. So we not germane to the legislation in any way, so please don't judge it based on this or how we got here, but I did receive a question about what we refer to as the T lots. And before I make any comments, much of what I'm about to say is lore more than it is fact. But you may notice looking at this area, we're looking at a parcel aerial that just in the middle of the largely flatly controlled land, Flatley, of course, owns up here and down here, there's this, what looks like an old paper subdivision. My understanding of this is that a long time ago, I don't know exactly when, a tea company, drinkable tea, a box of tea company, in some way subdivided or platted the subdivision in this area. And the idea was that as part of a tea purchasing sweepstakes, they would give lots away to winners of the sweepstakes. And that happened. Lots were awarded. I don't know how many, but you can sort of get a general sense of how many lots would have been here as you look at this map and the size of what remains. But ultimately, the subdivision was never built, and the subdivision could not be built today. But the interesting part is that the remnant parcels that exist are owned by a variety of different parties, and this is all public information, ranging from private individuals, such as this lot right here, to St. Joseph's Hospital, to the city of Nashua, to, and I haven't planned this out, so I may not hit one quickly, but the Flatley Company also owns in here, if I'm not mistaken, some of the lots. There's no immediate effort to try to do anything with this property, and I can't speak on behalf of the Flatley Company, but certainly they are a party that is developing in the adjacent areas. But it's just a very odd thing and condition that exists here. And these, taxes are being paid on these lots, although their valuation is fairly low. But I fully expect that at some point in the future, there'll be some effort to develop this land, to potentially consolidate it with abutting properties. But it does exist today undeveloped. And so I just wanted to make folks aware of that, and I appreciate that question and the lore that I've shared.
Thank you.
So Director Sullivan, looking at that, so what we're talking about would be on the right side of that, correct?
Correct.
And it
So-
would go up and around those lots and then open up?
Correct. So Flatley is currently developing this portion If you drive into Gateway Hills right now, down here, Flatley is currently working on developing this portion. They're sort of executing an incremental development plan of this land. At such time that they master plan or choose to try and connect their properties, it may be that this area is in play. They're also building that 49 unit residential subdivision up in this northern portion right here. So there is a logical path here in the future to build this area out, and it may include those T-lots, in fact.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of what we could be seeing long-term in that area. There's a lot of land up there for sure, so.
There is.
All right, is there any other questions, comments? All right, so before us is to recommend final passage of R 24-120. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
New business ordinances.
There is none.
Tabling committee, I have no interest in taking it off. Anybody else?
Neither do I.
Excellent. General discussion. Public comment. Any members of the public want to comment? Having no one in the chamber, we will move into remarks by aldermen. Seeing none, I will call on Alderman Jettie for a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. That is in order. So all those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we are adjourned at 7:28 PM.